Hello, everyone, as we welcome you to the Bleed Bloody Blue podcast. Just give me a second as I am starting the podcast stream right now. Thank you so much for listening to our material. And of course, we'll have more Bleed Bloody Blue podcasts as soon as they come out. And actually, we'll be airing throughout the entire season. So we welcome you as the very first listener of the Bleed Bloody Blue podcast. This podcast is not sponsored by anybody. And yes, I'm going to be at a different location today. So thank you so much for listening. And enjoy the podcast. And go Colts! Indianapolis, Indiana. Population 8 to see grudge the grudge football, but also to bring in the community. Here we are. And Braydyn Lents is here, the biggest Colts fan of all, the Bleed Bloody Blue!
Yeah!
Go,
Yeah!
Colts!
Stand up! Indianapolis! Stand up! Ha! Go Blue! Ha! Go Blue! Come on! Go Blue! Stand up! 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 Go Blue! Come on! Colts Super Bowlers! Dome rock and roller. Go Blue, stand up, get your hands in the sky. O to the D-line, come on, get behind. The home team, somebody scream. Go Blue, come catch the feeling. Reach for the ceiling, cause we getting that banner and we'll hang it up high. Scream for the home team, new rings and trophies. Go Blue, go Colts, go Blue, go Colts. You wanna rock, you wanna roll, we gonna win it. The Super Bowl, let's go. You wanna rock, you wanna roll, we gonna take it. The Super Bowl, you saw that comeback, you saw the drive. Tony D on the side, we got the pride.
And good morning, everyone, as we welcome you live to the Bleed Bloody Blue podcast, as we welcome you to the very first episode of what is a brand new season in 2022. Hello, everyone. My name is Braydyn Lents, probably one of the biggest Colts fans there ever is. And of course, folks, we will be streaming live periodically on TikTok. We'll have guests, all that good stuff. We're still planning the show out as we speak. This is preseason week up, but the Buffalo Bills, they're going to return this one all the way for the very first pick six of the game, as of course we had a field goal to start the game off. Nick Foles there with the fumble, but we got to see Matt Ryan, who had a pretty decent day that day, as the Buffalo Bills took a 6-3 lead. Now in the second quarter, looks to be Matt Ryan going to throw this one to number 47 for the touchdown. As you can tell, I'm still trying to learn about these guys a little bit. Some of them are new, some of them aren't. It's really adjusted to every single Colts player this season. Oh, that was Nick Foles. Sorry, folks. The camera angle is not that great. Sam Ehlinger looking back. The guy that could literally dunk us this season. He's going to throw this one out for the touchdown to number 80. That is Moore. Kenny Moore had to hit the catch for the touchdown there. 16-10. Indianapolis Colts on their next drive. Here comes, as of course, folks, this Colts lead only got a little bit extended, but not really. It was a very defensive battled game, to say the least. Buffalo Bills get the ball back. 1 yard run for the score. But yes, folks, this whole game, the whole game, in my opinion, was a thriller from start to finish. The defensive line looks very promising. With Darius Rucker in the backfield, Kenny Moore making big plays, getting wide receivers wide open to where they need to be, getting all that good stuff going. That actually is what makes a Colts team, is that if we have good offensive protection, which was one of the very things that we continued to struggle with, as you saw with those fumbles by Nick Foles, we continued to struggle in those areas. It was just ridiculous, to say the least, that we cannot and should not, we certainly cannot keep on doing this to our defensive line or our offensive line, or we are going to literally be in trouble. Because, of course, that's pretty much how it is now in the NFL. It's about protecting your QB. The Bills, though, looked impressive. They looked impressive from start to finish, even without Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs playing in this game. It was really, to say the least, a thriller. A thriller, not just as a Colts fan watching this game, but as a Bills fan, you got to be very promised. Because this is just non-biased here, but I do have, as an early preseason pick, the Bills winning the Super Bowl or probably playing against the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. So, folks, the Colts, however, looked polished. Matt Ryan, if he just had protection. It's the biggest problem I've seen out of every single Colts team. Nick Foles needs protection. Sam Ehlinger needs protection. But if we have Nick Foles and let's say Matt Ryan gets injured in Week 15, he would really be a good asset to us. And that actually, Matt Ryan, of course, the quarterback, one of my highest picks to take this season. But yes, I would say the offensive line through Manning, through Luck, through even Brissett and Carson Wentz was just not able to protect. And I get these guys are rookies. Some of these guys are rookies. We actually kept Matt Ryan out for 2 quarters. And that was, to say the least, promising to at least show the world, hey, Matt Ryan can do this and he can be an adjustable quarterback in the NFL. Because that's what I think he is. He's a balanced QB. And I'm just, as I said, every single day ever since this entire preseason started, one of the biggest storylines is that thank the living gods we did not get the one, the only Deshaun Watson. Anyways, but yeah, they were thinking about actually getting him here. I was like, no. Baker Mayfield, balanced, not that vertical. We need a guy that is both balanced and vertical. And I think Matt Ryan had glimpses, and he is the best balanced QB in the NFL. Was one of the, actually, this season will possibly be one of the best balanced QBs. You got a lot of RPO quarterbacks. You got a lot of quarterbacks that can't even run underneath or run the gut. But as I said, we're not going to get a Michael Vick. We have that somewhat in Sam Ehlinger. But of course, Nick Foles, let's say Carson Wentz gets in, or not Carson Wentz, my bad. I meant Matt Ryan gets injured in Week 15. He would be a good asset to us, especially when it comes down to Week 15 matchups, especially if he had an injury. If he had the injury bug hit him again, Nick Foles could lead us like he did with the Eagles all the way to the playoffs if he could. But for the whole team, in terms of a grade, I'd probably give the Colts a B+ in terms of their performance. They were great out there. They were really good out there. They showed us a dogfight and made sure that we were watching. Because as I said, the entire Colts organization is changing, I've heard, under Matt Ryan. And of course, it's promising. This looks very promising for us as an organization. And, of course, I think Frank Wright's going to have a lot of not really that much shoes to fill when it comes down to having a quarterback that's older that can stay for maybe a few years. That's the thing. We don't need another Andrew Luck or another Peyton Manning where he's going to leave. Because, as I said, it's pretty much like a fatherless relationship with our quarterbacks. We don't know who to trust. And it's just about getting our QBs stationary and focused to not only throw, but to also adjust to the RPO. And Matt Ryan is good at that. He's led the Falcons to a Super Bowl before. Could he do the same with us? That comes up later with our preseason predictions. But I gave the Colts a B+. Defense was the best for both teams. Did very well with the protection of the defensive line, which is one thing that has really were struggling last year. Corners were out. So at this point, folks, there is no break on this show. I got no guests, but I just wanted to personally say welcome everyone to the Bleed Bloody Blue podcast. If you are just joining us, welcome. And we are excited to have you as part of our fan club. Because, of course, I might be starting some social media here pretty soon related to Bleed Bloody Blue. You could follow me on Twitter and I will post stuff. You can follow me on TikTok and we still can post stuff. But it is at this point all about getting the fan recognition we need in order to start a very, very good Colts podcast. The thing of it is, this podcast has been around for 5 years. And I've tried and tried and tried to get this podcast going and started, but I've always ran into problems. This is the first Bleed Bloody Blue podcast where I'm actually not falling into any problems. So, in terms of that, we welcome you again. Join us. Actually, chat something if you want to. I really don't care. Now, folks, anyways, from that, we have a very exciting season on our hands with the Colts. We had this promising start with the Bills. It was a promising start. But now it is time for us to start venturing out into what is popular with Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman didn't catch much. Michael Pittman needs to catch more. He needs to quit having these butterfingers. I've always noticed him having butterfingers at times. I don't know if it's the gloves he wears or what, but it just feels like it's got nothing but slime on it or something because he can't even catch the dang thing. And that's what every single wide receiver needs to do is start catching these balls. And that's exactly what they need to do all season long. And not just Michael Pittman, but to most of the wide receiver corps. But as we followed that 1 year in 2019, 18, something like that, when we just had nothing but wide receivers injured, those days are over. I think we got some great guys that are going to be coming in as wide receivers. And of course, honest to God, might see somebody coming out of Ohio State every single year going to Indianapolis because that is how dominant that wide receiver field is year after year after year after year. And what I'm saying, though, is that what it basically comes down to is that do not get your guys injured. That's what it comes down to, is not getting your guys injured, not being sick, no more injury bugs, protecting the offensive line protecting the quarterback, and making sure the running backs and the wide receivers get to their appropriate spots. Because, of course, these all have been problems from the very, very, very beginning of when we went to Indianapolis, because before there was no offensive protection. You look at quarterbacks such as Jim Harbaugh, he had no protection. Peyton Manning had no protection. The 1 year he did was the year we went to the Super Bowl. And then Andrew Luck, of course, did not have any protection after his second season, and it just carouseled into retirement. So, as I mentioned earlier, the quarterback is the bread and the butter of this team. You need the peanut butter and the jelly to make a sandwich, pretty much. And that is what that's what this season is all about. It's about making sure we keep a good PB&J going for the rest of the season. So yes, the wide receivers, they need to quit with the injury bugs. Any chronic injuries just come back out. I know it's not as simple as it sounds, but of course somebody who's had an injury, I know that can be a hard thing to recover from. But, as I said, it's about keeping everybody healthy. That's just the number one goal this season, is to keep everybody healthy. The second thing that we need to also keep our focus on is, of course, not just protecting the quarterback, but protecting the offensive line, not getting guys injured. Because if Ryan Kelly's out again, I don't even know what we're going to do. Because that center is very important. He is the centerpiece of a chocolate pie. He's basically the center of it. You don't want to split the center. You want to split the outside parts. So I know I make some Ted Lasso analogies half the time. So yeah, that's one thing I love, though, is making Ted Lasso analogies. But anyways, the Colts are, of course, this season they look polished. That's what it's about. That's pretty much what it is about. It's just about getting our guys stationed and ready for any sort of challenge that will be coming their way. As of course, guys, we have the Colts preseason going on. We also have another game going on, as we mentioned yesterday, other games around the league. And you might see on the bottom right here, the scoreboard just updated that about a day or two ago. And yes, the NFL is a fierce season. I mean, we just got a lot of characters. And this season, it's more than just Batman. There's several others. This is almost like a Marvel superhero thing that's going on here in the NFL. Because let me tell you, of course, we got the scores down here, but those don't justify what is going on around the league. Because as I said, the Bengals are good, the Chiefs are good, the Chargers are good, the Dolphins will be good, the Vikings are good, the Steelers could be better, but they're not great. Cleveland Browns suck. Because, of course, you guys just, as I said, the whole situation in Cleveland sucks. But you have the Bengals are good. I mean, you have some amazing clubs this year. They're going to be rocking it out in the league. These young guys, it's going to be probably one of the best seasons we've seen. Last year was one of the best seasons I've seen, even given COVID. It was incredible seeing even the postseason. We want another exciting postseason, and that's all I care for. The Bills are great. And as I mentioned earlier, they could win the Super Bowl. They are that good this year. They are so good with Allen. They are so good with Diggs. They are so good at tight ends. They are really very freaking fast on defense. These Bills are just powerful. But there's no way we can. I mean, I get the preseason. If this was a regular season, I'd be disappointed we lost. But hey, the Bills look fresh. Josh Allen is going to be a beast next season. A beast. And he's still having Super Bowl woes. Even if they play the Buccaneers, for example, I think if the Bills beat the Buccaneers, that would be the biggest victory and biggest upset in NFL history. Because, as I said, I got them and the Patriots going to the Super Bowl this season. I do think Tom Brady might win his last Super Bowl. This could even be his last season. I mean, you know it will be. You know it will be his last season. There's no justification about that, knowing that this is his last season. If it was not his last season, who knows? We would have seen a lot of him. But right now, he's taking a break. And the Buccaneers, they got Mike Evans. They got Leandro. Oh, crap. Sorry. I was just looking at my notes down here. I wasn't really looking at Leonard Fournette. That was his name, Leonard Fournette. And then, of course, you had Leonard Fournette. You had Mike Evans. Last year, you had Antonio Brown. That's just a waste of talent because he's a narcissist. And, of course, I personally, as I said, Antonio Brown was just a big crybaby throughout his entire career. He pretty much was a crybaby. Steelers was legitimately going to be the best wide receiver in the league. I mean, even this new addition, even in Miami, I don't think it's going to be that good either for the Miami Dolphins. I think Tyreek Hill is such a great wide receiver. He's at Antonio Brown level. But Tyreek Hill, he's got a clean sheet in terms of talent not being wasted. And it is tragic to say that I think the Dolphins are not going to do that great. They could be better than they were last year, have an impressive record, do all the good stuff. But I just was saying to myself earlier, I think the Dolphins could be one of those teams that goes 7-9, barely makes the playoffs, out of the league that they're in. The AFC East AFC East is not